because when an organization is able to keep their data properly, their bookkeeping properly, then they are able to maneuver through tax audits. So I'm telling you about bookkeeping so that you can keep your books correctly, because audit is coming. And I'll share, some of you are going through audit. Others have never had KRA mention them or ask them something, but they are coming, and I'll give you reasons why they are. So you need to keep your data correctly, keep the right books together, and because that one will save you a lot of tax issues, and that data should be kept for a period of 5 years. And a company should be audited within 5 years. So possibly you're growing your company. And I'll also talk about why is my company being audited all the time? What is making KRA is asking me for data, for information, for I'll talk about the reasons. And one of the biggest reasons is visibility. Visibility means that you're now becoming an organization that is bigger. You're having more sales. You're growing. So for a span of 5 years, when I talk about bookkeeping, possibly right now you are an SME or you're a startup. And when you're starting up the business, you're running for customers, you're running to establish yourself. So you don't concentrate so much on bookkeeping. Actually, some of you, as long as you can understand where you're getting your profits, you don't care about bookkeeping. So but when you're 1 year, second year, third year, you now find that the business is making more money and you want to start putting structures. That is when you now want to incorporate softwares like QuickBooks, you keep proper recording, or you're even able to come for such a webinar and understand the importance of bookkeeping, and you start putting the books together. So you do that year 3. Year 4, the business is able to accelerate, because every day we are looking for growth. So you accelerate the business possibly year 4. Year 5, a business that was a startup, year 0. Year 5, you're doing 50 million a year and more. Now you become visible to KRA. They also want to come and audit your organization. So when they come to your organization to audit you, they will not audit you in that year that you're making profits, in the year that you have systems, in the year that you are able to keep your books properly. They will audit you for the past 5 years. So what do I mean? Even a startup, you should be able to adhere to bookkeeping rules and be able to set up the bookkeeping and the accounting department. Why? Because one day somebody will come and will ask you for books which are 5 years old. So I hope there we are together. And also, so you find some of you, but I'll share some of these books and I'll see, you can rate with me and tell me how many you have. So I'm going to do an introduction, what bookkeeping entails, the importance, enhancing bookkeeping, document required for tax purposes. Then I will also talk about emerging issues. And one of the biggest emerging issues is e-filing, that we are going, the auto-population of data. I'm going to mention something about tax amnesty. I'll always talk about it until 30th June so that you can understand. I'll talk about housing levy. It has been reintroduced. So I'll mention something. If I get time, I'll mention something about NSSF, SHIF, and other issues. So let's start from bookkeeping. And we talk on the chat. I've said I'm going to see those chats. And if you have a specific questions, someone will be answering also. So what is bookkeeping? Bookkeeping is a process of recording and organizing financial transactions for business, tracking income, expenses, asset, liabilities. So this is a place where you're able to put your books together. You record every transaction within the organization. You're able to record your sales, you're able to record your expenses, you're able to record your purchases. And when you put all this data together, you can be able to get a profit and loss account. You can get a balance sheet that is correct. You can get your asset, even when not just for even for KRA purposes, even for you understanding your business, how the business is operating, understanding growth, knowing the areas where you can cut on costs. Bookkeeping is very important for you. So some of you, when I start asking what kind of information or how do you know how the company is functioning, correct financial statements, some of us don't get to that level. We just like we keep very minimal books just for KRA purposes. But bookkeeping and financial statement are fast to be consumed by the stakeholders of the business. These are directors, even investors. When someone wants to come, when you want to partner that business, when you want to incorporate an investor, they want to see correct books. They want to see financial statements that are okay. Even you making a decision like you want to expand, you want to get a loan, you want to diversify, you cannot be able to make such decisions if you don't have correct bookkeeping. So that is what we are doing today. So what does the bookkeeping entails? It entails recording financial transactions, and here it is recording everything. So everything is from sales to purchases to expenses. And expenses, some expenses that we don't even record, that you paid someone transport, border guy, you sent him somewhere, bring us water, you paid him 100 shillings. You did not record. This recording that you find there, very small, the petty cash recording, and you don't pay attention. At the end of the year, a full year consecutive, you may have even overstated profits just because those expenses accumulated and they are not recorded somewhere. So every transaction, every coin that is coming in, leaving, every item, stocks, everything should have a recording. And right now we are having even accounting systems that are very efficient to help you do such work. So I also talk about the accounting software because it's part of bookkeeping. Classifying transactions into categories, very important. So sometimes I will come to your organization and I find miscellaneous expenses. There's no such thing. What is that miscellaneous? And I find a miscellaneous expense of a full year, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. When KRA will come, they want to see what is that miscellaneous transaction. Are you hiding an expense out of that category? So let's describe everything. So general expenses, miscellaneous expenses, record everything. So if that general expense is and office expenses, you have to explain, was this office expense lunch or was it transport? What was it? And record, have those both heads in your recording. If you are using an accounting software, you can do as many journals as possible. So record everything. And when you're getting that receipt, you can also file that receipt very well. So when we talk about bookkeeping, we are talking about books that are kept on the accounting software. You're having the recording in soft, but you're also having the manual receipts that you have filed. So all of this is very, very important. Maintaining journals and ledgers. Some of our ledgers are not kept properly. We don't do ledger reconciliations. And this is something that I've seen that is very that can bring a lot of problems. So ledgers means, for instance, our sales ledger. And I don't know who audits our accounting system. I'll talk about auditing the accounting system, and I want to see how many have ever gone through an audit of the accounting system. So when KRA requests a sales ledger, for instance, you find that you have done invoicing Invoicing, for instance, in a month you invoice 1 million. So different invoices, but the total invoices is the total sales is 1 million. So if the accountant or the cashier who is doing the invoicing in the office, you find sometimes they make a mistake on an invoice, and the customer says, no, I didn't want these items. How do we come back and reverse that invoice? How do we do credit notes? So you find in the office, because the accounting system is not being maintained by anybody, nobody is doing checks. You find that cashier comes back and generates another invoice, doesn't do a credit note to the previous one. So at the end of the month, the total sales is 1 million, but the sales in the system is 1.2 million. Imagine accumulation of that in a year, 2 years, and this is data that you're supposed to provide for 5 years. So sometimes I get to your ledgers and I find that the auditor filed 550 million, but your system has 65 million. And I'm like, what is happening? So every month we should be able to do ledger reconciliations. So our book sales is 1 million. Is it the same 1 million in our ledger? The purchases is 800,000. Is it the same purchases in our ledgers? And how is invoicing done? Does it have the numbers flowing properly? Did we issue a credit note? Was it authorized? Did we have a return of goods? Was this process completed over the system? Very important. Bank reconciliations, and I want to see how many are able to do this. Even companies are huge, they are not able to maintain a bank reconciliation. Yet it's very important. Remember, and I'll talk about the book requested by KRA. One of the things they are looking for is a bank statement. And these bank statements are, you find that the auditor declared 50 million, but the bank statement has 60 million. What is this 10 million? Do we do bank reconciliation on a monthly basis to handle issues? Possibly there was somebody who deposited money. You did not know who is, especially on M-Pesa. You did not know who is this customer. That money is lying there. It has never been credited in the sales receipt. Do we do those reconciliation? Were there unpresented checks? Were there PD checks? Do we do those reconciliation? That when KRA requests for that data and they find that there is an overstatement of payment, you can be able to describe that this was a customer who we had billed last year or last month, and this is the money they paid us 3 months later, and this is the reason. So some of this banking, we got a loan of 2 million from the director or from the bank. The excess of this 10 million consists a loan. Do we do those reconciliation even on bank charges and some of us, even when a check bounces, we can't be able even to tell. Sometimes when we come to audit your organization and we look at the data, we look at the banking, we compare the checks. We find even some checks that were bouncing and they were not, that money was not accounted for. The client alilipa check and akaenda, but the check bounced and nobody could even notice. So bank reconciliation, and you can do bank reconciliation on the accounting system. You can't be able to do that. So when you're doing sales and then the customer is able to pay, for instance, if they pay Equity Bank, you're supposed to come back and credit in the account and also do a contra entry in the bank that they have done. So maintaining and getting the bank statement and checking over. I love when I come to your organization and I find physical bank statement printed and you can find those pencils, they're ticking and there's analysis done there. Then I know we are somewhere. So those bank reconciliation is very important, especially for tax purposes, because KRA, one of the things they are looking for your bank statements. Generating a financial statement. So are we able to generate a financial statement every month that this month we made these sales, we made these purchase expenses, these are the profits. So when I find that you're having your financial statement given by the auditor at the end of the year, but we should be having financial statement on a monthly basis, that you're able to monitor how your business is doing. Management accounts, a point where you can have financial statement, management accounts, feedback, recommendation on growth. So very important. Analyzing financial data. So analyzing financial data, and this is the good side with having bookkeeping issues, that you can be able to analyze the data. You can be able to analyze costs. You can say this month we spent 3 million on purchases, yet last month we spent 2 million, the other month we spent 1 million. What entails the increase? And then you do observation, you do recommendation, even within the organization setting. And that will help you even to cut on cost. You may find that fuel last month was 500,000, but this month the fuel is 800,000. There should be an explanation of why the increase of 300,000. So that one you can say we got a new client, we traveled. That if you're not right now, by the way, let me tell you something. With e-teams, with how KRA is doing, sometimes running an organization is very expensive. You have to monitor the cost of your organization on a monthly basis. So bookkeeping will help you do all that. Ensuring compliance with regulations. So compliance, this is like paying your and doing your monthly return very well. So bookkeeping also entail that you're able to do NHIF and SSF, pay VAT, everything in the correct manner. Facilitating audits. When I find a company that is able to keep their books, audit becomes very easy, that you can give me a trial balance that is balancing well, that the financial, that you can even have management report on a monthly basis. That will help a lot, that when we are coming in, we are not finding incomplete records. You know, the place where, and I know we have accountants here. By the way, I didn't ask that question, like how many are we? So ukiona nikionea accountants, I do that apology before. So when you find an accountant, when we come for audit and you're telling us, give me a month to balance of my books, yet we are in March, then it shows that there's a lot that you need a lot of improvement. This organization, and that's where we are headed. Their organization by 5th, the balancing of that month, the previous month is correctly done. Management reports given that at the close of the year, by 10th of January, the company can give you a correct trial balance, can show you management recording that have been done throughout the year. So very, very important for you to consider that. So using an accounting software. So I'm going to talk about the accounting software, and I want to also see the accounting software that you're using. We're going to share that. I have a slide for that. I would want to see the accounting software that you're using. Very, very important. Because there are spaces. I know some of you want to tell me your manual, but there are levels the organization has to implement an accounting software so that you can move your business to the next level. And by the way, when you're going through audit, there are stories you cannot give KRA, that we don't have an accounting software, yet your turnover is 50 million per year, 100 million. How are you managing the business? So there are spaces where you cannot tell them that story. So you have to have the accounting software with you. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So importance of bookkeeping, and I think I've mentioned a few. Financial transparency, very important. So for your business to be able to grow, you need a lot of transparency. The organization that I find that the accountants don't view bank statement, it's still okay to operate that way, but it reaches a point where if you need business to flow, then that transparency has to be there. So even having management report that you are making this money, this month you made a profit, this month is that, it's very important. So when we enhance bookkeeping, there's a lot of financial transparency. And even as a business owner, you can be able to implement some controls, because now you're able to monitor the monitoring of how much we are making sales. Are we collecting at the right time? How much are we spending? Are we monitoring our petty cash? So that transparency, bookkeeping is able to give that. Help in proper decision making, very, very important. So you are able to make decisions. Such decisions are, can we get a loan? Sometimes you may find that the bank want to offer you a loan, but you cannot be able to make that decision because you don't have proper record keeping. So because you are having a lot of turnovers, doesn't mean that you're making profits, or doesn't mean you're making a lot of profits. So for you to be able to make such decision, to get a loan, to buy an asset, to diversify, you need proper record keeping. Regulatory compliance. When you do bookkeeping, you're able to comply. The VAT is able to be okay. You're able to do your corporation tax and other regulations. We even have licensing of the business and such. Business planning and forecasting. You're able to forecast how the business will move. And you're able to know, you can even be able to do cost management, managing of the costs within the organization, and you're able to plan. You can be able to even do break-even points. You can say, you can even be able, if you're selling like 5 products or 5 services or other services, you can be able to even rate how each service or each product is able to make money. And you can be able to forecast. If, for instance, this year we made 50 million sales, what if we double that money, or what if we add by 10%, then how much money can we be able to profit to be able to make? And what do we need to do for us to double or to push to 50% increase? Do we need more sales, more marketing? Do we need more? What structures do we need? Do we need a vehicle to buy a truck? Do we need to hire more people? Do we need to get a general manager? So you can be able to plan and forecast. Access to financial and investment. So when you go to a bank and you're looking for a loan, you're looking for that investment. Okay. So when you're going to the bank and you're looking for an investor or you're looking for a loan, the moment that person is giving you that loan and they are able to understand your business, they can be able to understand your numbers. They can see you have a clear vision of what you want, and you can show them through numbers, through your bookkeeping, through the financial statement that you're providing. Then you can be able to access financing anytime. Some of us have very good ideas, but our recording is not properly done. So even when the banking wants to give you a loan, they are not sure that if you're going to repay on time, if what will happen. So when you find that organizations that are very organized, especially bookkeeping, they are able to access funding, and also demonstrating how you're going to be repaying the money is also very, very important. Risk management. Bookkeeping is able to help you with risk management. For instance, if you are in an organization and you can be able to do risk analysis. For instance, if you're selling, for instance, a lot of stock, you are a distributor or a wholesaler, and you have a lot of stock, you can be able to monitor your stocks and understand that my biggest risk in this business is on my stock, and be able to put controls at that level. Some of you use a lot of fuel, so your business cost has a lot of fuel. You can be able to do a risk analysis and say, for us to sell 5 million in a month, we need fuel worth 500,000. Because you have numbers and because you've done it last month, the other month, 2 years, 3 years, so you can be able to understand the numbers. So if you don't get to that 5 million sales, for instance, you got at 3 million, net the fuel was 600,000, you can be able to raise an alarm and say, what happened at this particular point? Audit facilitation, I've talked about that. And that correct bookkeeping is able to facilitate audit, is also able to facilitate internal audits. I'll also talk about internal audit. It is very, very important so that when you're doing bookkeeping, if you have accountant or you're the accountant, after 3 months, I advocate that we have an internal audit. Internal audit will help you be able to incorporate the books correctly. So you are able to do the reconciliation, ledger reconciliation, bank reconciliation. So at the end of the year, you are even able to close your books more efficiently. Operational efficiency, you're really able to handle business. I find entrepreneurs who cannot break off from the organization, as in when I want to see debtors reconciliation or debtors reports, I have to ask the director. He is the one who has the customer list, and the customer list that I have not paid is the one who has that information in his head. So when you're able to incorporate bookkeeping, you're able to have an accounting system. You can even know that the business is running, the business is ongoing properly, even without overburdening some people within the organization with so it gives you a lot of operational efficiency. Effective tax planning, you can be able to plan very well. If, for instance, you're able to know that our sales, even be able to, by the time you're opening a month, be able to forecast that our sales for this month is going to be 50 million, and you can, or 3 million, 5 million, and you have data with you. You're operating on data. You've done this last month, the other month, last year, and there are some businesses that are seasonal. For instance, if you're selling a bookshop, so you know by January, by December, or by November, I should be having correct stocks. This is my month to sell. For instance, November, December, January, February, you're selling. So you should be having these stocks with you so that you can be able to sell. So you're able to plan correctly. You're able to plan correctly and be able to, even when you're getting a loan from somewhere, a short-term loan, you can be able to know that these few months are the months I'm able to sell. So I can be able to get a facilitation and be able to bring out the money. Accurate business valuation, valuing the business. So some of you, we operate a business that you cannot be able to value. But when you have in books, you're able to have the correct data, the correct creditors, sales, everything. So you can even be, and the assets owned by the company, you can be able to even value. Sometimes you may find an investor who wants to come, or a partner, but you cannot be able to value the business or be able to ask for the correct investment So with bookkeeping, it will help you be able to do that. So how do we enhance your bookkeeping? So this was a main topic. How do you enhance your bookkeeping? Of course, to save on tax. Regular review and reconcile accounts, very important. And review that on a monthly basis, we are able to close the month. We are able to get management report. We are able to review the report. We are able to do recommendation, feedback. So this month we anticipated to sell 3 million. We have sold 2.5. This is a management report. What made the dip? This last month we spent 500,000 on fuel. This month we've done 300,000. What is what brought on the saving? What for this new month now of April, what do we anticipate to sell? We anticipate to sell this and this. And when we're anticipating to sell this, who are we going to target to sell? Sometimes we don't complete that whole cycle. We are just pushing people to bring numbers, but we are not sitting down to seek feedback, to look at the numbers, to see a recommendation, observation. So bookkeeping enhances that review. You're able to reconcile accounts. You're able to do bank reconciliation properly, ledger reconciliation. Did the check bounce? Did we have unpresented checks? What happened? Did M-Pesa? Some of us, and we're operating at a season that is extremely difficult. Some of you, some of our sales team sends us e-slip from the market. Wherever they are sending you an e-slip through a WhatsApp. Possibly that is the model. You use M-Pesa, then you send a slip or a message. Were these sales a bank statement correctly? And did we have, and some of us, how we operate, we finding that the cashier who is invoicing is the same cashier who is receiving amounts, is the same one who is confirming from the bank, is the same one who is calling the customers, telling them to pay. So you find even control issues, internal control issues is a problem. And you find after 1 year, 2 years, you tell me that you came and you find that the accountant had misbehaved and something went wrong. So those reviews, constant reviews of the organization, you are able to highlight such control issues. Utilizing accounting software effectively. So some of us have accounting software, which are very good, QuickBooks, online, Zoho, others that you're having, ERPs, but yet some of us just use them for sales. You have a point of sale. Actually, if you'd ask you, check your accounting system, the best portion that it has is the point of sale. It is generating invoices, but the rest, we don't come back to incorporate purchases. So when suppliers we buy, we don't incorporate that data. When we doing expenses, petty cash, payroll, we don't incorporate that data back to the system. That at the end of the month, it can be able to give us a profit and loss. So I encourage you, especially accountants who are here. Sometimes I know there's nobody who is checking what you're doing, but you can be able to own it up and say, I will do an extra 1 hour and make sure that this accounting system is efficient and incorporate all the other data, petty cash, purchases, payments, and make sure that at the end of the month, you can be able to give the management accounts or financials for the month, even without being requested. Useme mimi na mimi, I work an extra effort to provide something extra. You're not requesting for this, but every month by 5th, I'll be giving you this data. And you get a file. And you have your management report with with recommendations and observation. And by the way, this is one of the areas where you grow, because organizations are looking for accountants who are not just doing invoicing, petty cash, pale vouchers, the normal work, who are giving something extra. They are giving an advice. They are giving a recommendation. They are taking up, they are owning up. And this is an area for growth, by the way. If your organization is able to spot that, organizations are looking for accountants who are also leaders, that you can be able to lead that organization. You can be able to give concrete information about the organization. So I encourage you, by the 5th, give a management report that has profit and loss for the month with recommendation and observation. You can give an observation. Last month, we had extra cost on ABCD. This is the reason. This is my recommendation. You have a budget with you. So this month of April, this is the budget. This is the forecast for the month. Have that extra, depending on the nature of the organization. These are the expenses, the budgeted expenses. This is how we are going to cover for these budgeted expenses. We can improve our sales on this and this. This is the type of the accountant every organization is looking for. This is the bank reconciliation. These are the issues that were raised out of these reconciliations. So maintain an organized records. How to enhance the organized is besides the accounting software, even the savings, the manual records that you are having. So those manual records, are they kept very well? I've gone to organization that after we do VAT, before we do VAT is when we are filing the purchases very well. After that, you go to organization, even recording for 1 year. And remember, KRA is asking for 5 years. 1 year, you cannot be able to find even invoices. So that data is very important. So you're having purchases and keeping those purchases per supplier, depending on how big your organization is. If it is not big, you can have one supplier file. But if it is big, or if there are suppliers who bring volumes of transactions, you can have their specific files. And at the end of the month, you can even ask for a supplier statement and have it filed there. If there are issues, handle them on a monthly basis. I've gone to organization. By the way, one organization told me that the supplier is asking for us for 10 million. Yes, our calculations are 4 million, a disparity of 6 million. And this is a span of 3 years. And when we were doing that audit to provide, we couldn't find invoices. We couldn't find invoices. And you know that the supplier, when some of our supplier understand that we have challenges with bookkeeping, they don't even give you supplier statements. Siku moja tu hivi, you're thinking that I'm supposed to pay him 4 million and anaanza kuitisha 5 million, but you don't have records to show that on this particular date, you brought this, I paid you this. Sometimes we have PD checks we pay. Some checks you call them and tell them, don't deposit because you don't have money. I'm going to send you this cash. So you had given them a PD, then you told them, cancel that PD, I pay you cash. Then you did not even have a file of recording. Sometimes they are credit notes. They brought goods, and you told them that these goods were not what I was looking for. They returned them back. They did not reconcile that. So when I ask you for those creditors recording at the end of the year, they have so many variables and you cannot even be able to explain from where. So maintaining organized recording, very important. Staying updated on tax laws and regulations. So it will enhance you that. It will enhance you being able to incorporate e-teams and it is able to work for you properly. Implement internal controls, and this is what I encourage you for every organization. Internal control is very, very important. Otherwise, because we are having a hard economic time for businesses to survive. Yesterday, I was talking to entrepreneurs, CEOs who are running organizations, and we had an interesting topic on how to navigate through tax changes and still be profitable. And one of the areas is keen monitoring on every process, every activity within the organization. And that's why internal controls come in. So how are you doing your ordering? How do you do your sales? Are there controls? If you're doing production, how are we able to do production, minimize wastages, minimize breakages, minimize theft? How are we able to negotiate credit times? How are we able to buy from the people who are selling us quality materials and product yet at a low cost? So those internal controls, you find, and I apologize for the accountants, leo niko na nyinyi. You find some of our accountants in the organization, they know all our suppliers. So akileta kitu lazima 2%, 1% pale yake. But yet that cost is being brought to the organization, internal controls. So the organization is losing at the end of the day, but there are people right here within the organization who are making money. Processes, sometimes we have processes that are not incomplete. They're incomplete. We don't do stock takes. You have a production place, but you don't even do stock takes. You don't know if goods left came in, there were returns. You don't even know. And sometimes we leave gaps, so many gaps. Some of you leave so many gaps. And this one I'm saying from my heart. When people come in the organization, because not every